He had pain, he had money, I did a presentation, and we set another agreement to get back with him later, to get a yes or a no. So we've talked a lot so far. Zane and Noah, to me, spoke a lot of things that were really similar. And the message that came from Lane was clarity. And the message this morning that I heard from Noah was more about identity. I found it really, really interesting that an NFL football player who has a lot of money can get to a place where he doesn't have any peace. And the reason they get to a place where they don't have any peace is something that I went through. And it has to do with their identity tied into something that they aren't. And then when they lose that identity or that role in their life, they can't get their feet on the ground. And so we have to be really, really careful. The scriptures have a lot to say about money, a whole lot. And money is not going to lead you to a place of peace. Money is not going to lead you to a place of joy, but we think it will. What happened to me was, by the time I was 38 years old, I had worn myself out trying to get rich. And I didn't do too bad. I had sold 2 businesses and had reached most of my goals by the time I was 38. And I had this empty feeling. You know, what's left? It really isn't all I thought it would be. So what do I do? So I started asking questions that are really just spiritual questions, like, why am I here? What am I called to do? Obviously, this wasn't it. And here's what I learned. Roger, you are not your money. You are not your status in the community. You are not your BMW 540i. You're not your 6,000 square foot house with all those bathrooms you don't need. You are none of those things, but when you figure out your identities in me in a spiritual sense, then I'll give you those things back when you don't need them for your identity. Okay, so here's where we get stuck when we're in business. And you have to be, when we talk to people about their money, because you need the money, right? Money's useful. And we need money, but money's not very valuable. It's useful, but it's not valuable. But we need it to pay the bills, right? But the things that are valuable in your life are free. But the money's good. We like money. But if you're focused on wearing yourself out, you won't be able to do some things that you're going to need to be able to do when you're in that conversation with that prospect. So what you have to do is you have to learn how to let go of your emotional need for them to say yes, or for your emotional need for them to give you the money, because we have that need and it's really real. But in order to do that, you have to get to a place and understand who is your source. Are you your source, or is it a higher power? Okay, for me, it's a spiritual thing. So I have some stuff that comes right out of Scripture. I'll just paraphrase it, but it's everything in the heavens and the earth is yours, and this is your kingdom, and it's at your discretion that you make people great and give them strength. Okay? So that's my source. But yet I live over here in this natural world, so in order for me to do some things in the natural world, skills related, I have to have that assurance over here in the spirit side that if I don't get this sale, I'm going to be taken care of. So I don't need it, but I might want it. So there's no codependency that I have with the prospect. I don't need it, I just want it. If I don't get this one, I'm not going to get it. So to give you an example, when I started this business in 2000, I called on companies. If they did 40 to 60 million, I'd cold call you. Didn't matter what you did. and I'm in Centennial, Colorado, and I have an appointment with a gentleman for the first time. I cold called him, and he is the president of a brewery in Munich that distributes their product in the USA, big company. I'm talking to him about his pain with his salespeople. He had pain, he had money, I did a presentation, and we set another agreement to get back with him later, to get a yes or a no. So my rule is, hey look, you can tell me yes, or you can tell me no, or you can tell me what happens next. Now, no is good, no's acceptable, and sometimes you got to help people say no, because it'll be the best thing for you. You can tell me yes, or you can tell me what happens next. So here's what he chose. He said, well, I'm interested, I think you can help me. So we set another appointment to get together a week later, and the purpose of that appointment is to get a yes or a no. And something really interesting happened, and I'll share with you the product I was selling. I had an assessment product where we would test the salespeople, and we would figure out what their strengths and their weaknesses were. It was an expensive assessment and very profitable. He had 24 salespeople, and here's what he said. Let's test my sales manager, and then let's test his people, and let's don't test the people I manage. He managed half the sales force, and the another person managed the other half. And so he knew that it was $4,000 because we already talked about $4,000. And he said, okay, let's do that. And I said, okay, let's get started. So this is good, right? I made a sale. He told me yes. Well, this was back before iPhones and everything was on paper, and I got my calendar out and started doing things that we needed to plan, and he walked out of the office and said, I'll be right back. Now, this is where it really gets difficult because I needed this $4,000. Has anybody ever been there? I mean, I needed it bad. But I was going to have to let it go, or I wasn't going to get it. And here's what happened. He came back in. This is a very tense situation. He's a really sharp guy. And he said, no, let's don't do half of the people, let's do everybody. And I said, great. So now he knows it goes from 4 to 8. And then he said this, how much of a discount do I get? Because we're doing more people. What do you think I said? Anybody? No discount. Then he got mad. He did. He got angry. He said, what do you mean no discount? I said, no discount. He said, well, let's forget it. So now where are we? We went from yes all the way back around to no.